Well, welcome, listeners, to Ben's Revenge podcast. If you're a regular listener to Popstorian, you may have heard me and Chris having some discussions. And Chris, in our last minisode before we did Destry Rides Again, Chris asked me about what films I've seen in 1939 that were made in 1939. And to my shame, there were many that I had not seen.
So now it's
So
Ben's turn.
I was humbled. And before that, I had to bring forth my all my controversial opinions.
I hope that was not all your controversial opinions.
No, but my most controversial, my mostest, deepest, darkest secrets of controversy.
Yeah.
So now, Chris, it's your turn. What are your most controversial opinions that would get you stoned? Not with not with drugs, but with rocks.
So not the fun kind of stone.
Not the fun,
Okay.
the unfun,
The
painful
unfun.
kind of stoned at Comic-Con.
So my three most unpopular opinions for pop culture. Not in any particular order. I think Phantom Menace, Star Wars Phantom Menace, is not the worst Star Wars movie ever made.
Well, I think we've talked about this before.
We have talked about it a little bit, and I think actually, possibly right now, a lot of people would say Last Jedi is probably the last
Right.
person.
I actually
sure.
do agree with you.
That is,
I don't think The Phantom Menace is the worst.
I'm actually of the opinion that Attack of the Clones is the worst.
I am in agreement as well.
Yeah.
Much as I love...
I love the last fight. The battle scene is great. you
Right.
know?
There's a lot of great fight scenes. A great fight sequence with Obi-Wan and
Yeah.
Jango Fett.
That's like the best part in the whole movie.
Yeah.
But you can't really say a movie's really good based off of one fight scene.
No.
So I'm going to actually say that's the worst one, and Phantom Menace is actually quite better than that.
Yeah.
Although Revenge of the Sith is the best of the three prequel series.
Right. I agree.
So I don't
Not
know.
that
I guess that's not that
controversial,
controversial. Number two, I would say that I actually enjoyed Peter Jackson's King Kong more than the original King Kong from 1933.
See, that's a little bit controversial in my view.
Okay.
I don't know where the mainstream opinions have landed on that, but I'm a big fan of
It's
the
been
original
a while
King Kong.
since King Kong came out.
Yeah.
And I remember,
Any King Kong.
yeah,
Well, actually, that's not true.
Kong
Skull
Island came out, yeah. But I actually really didn't. I have not seen Skull Island. I really want to see that. But I did enjoy Peter Jackson's take on that classic monster movie.
It's long.
When I watched it, it didn't feel that long. The 1933 version felt longer to me because of all the screaming.
Right.
I was just like, okay.
We
get it.
By modern standards, the original King Kong moves quite slowly.
Yeah.
It's more like it's the kind of film that you would watch if you're interested in the history of it or the history of the special effects.
Yeah. It's definitely groundbreaking as far as special effects and action films.
But it's definitely not a pace catered to modern audiences. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that King Kong is either. But that's just my opinion.
Luckily.
Have you seen the 70s King Kong?
Haven't. That's Jeff Bridges, right?
I haven't either. I don't know.
I remember he did a King Kong film, but I don't remember when it was made.
Are you going to see King Kong versus Godzilla? Because that's
if I get to
next
see
year.
Skull Island anytime in the near
Right.
future,
We should watch it together.
We should.
We'll do a pop story and audio commentary.
That would be fun. My last controversial opinion would be that is it 2001? I think it was 2001. Film Hulk, the Ang Lee comic book take on the Incredible Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
I think is probably the most underrated comic book movie ever.
That's a movie that didn't
It
get received well.
The fans didn't receive it well. Critics really didn't do well on it.
Mm.
But I would argue Ang Lee brought a kind of a artistic take on the comic book that hadn't been really tried before. Just the kind of the editing, the type of cuts that he uses, he really tries to bring the comic book to the big screen. Which, if you've ever read Glenn Weldon's Cape Crusade, which is a great book, by the way, it's really hard to do to bring comic books to the film.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Ang Lee gave it a good try.
Such a different medium.
So, and also I say it's important historically because it's really one of those first comic book films that special effects actually was able to bring a character that normally would be a man painted all in green to the big screen in a very large. This particular Hulk was able to grow throughout the film.
Yeah.
So I think this is the start of the computer generated era.
Yeah.
I think it's an important film.
It was a very, I guess, kind of only preceded by Spider-Man.
And the X-Men films, I think, were good.
And the X-Men films, that's true. I guess if you want to be technical, we'll get into Blade and the Batman films and those.
The Batman films, the '90s Batman films are kind of pre-CG.
Right, that's true. Very true. And so was Blade.
I think the X-Men probably is the first.
Right.
And they're like 2000.
But even the X-Men films are kind of, they had one foot in both worlds. And so did the Spider-Man films to a large extent. So.
They were just kind of experimenting with a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think this is probably the first, Hulk is probably the first that you have almost entire sequences that were CGI. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong on that, but I'd say it's a very important film for the computer.
I'll have to go back and watch it.
Book
I've never seen it, but I had the Hulk hands.
Yeah.
They smashed together and they make the growl.
Did they come out for that film or did they come out for the Incredible Hulk?
You know,
because that was Ed Norton did a great job for.
I was going to say that's kind of my.
Of course, Hulk did destroy Eric Bana's career for a period of time. He's made a comeback, but it was kind of bad for him.
I do like Ed Norton's take on the Hulk.
Yeah, I think that was Nick Nolte's last film too.
I definitely do remember the Hulk hands, having the Hulk hands, and they were packaged for the 2003 film.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know if they were a toy before that.
Yeah.
Or where they came from, but they're amazing.
Do you still have them?
No. Oh, are you kidding? I think the dog ate them. Just like ripped the foam to pieces.
That definitely sounds about right.
Well, there were some actual controversial opinions in there.
Thank you.
Mine were kind of like...
They
were two sides of hotly debated issues.
They were, and I think you kind of leaned on the more conservative side of those issues too. Not to really downplay your...
I guess I play both sides of the aisle.
So
cool.
There it is.
That's another Pop Storian minisode.
Don't stalk me. But definitely give us a tweet.
But definitely follow us. Just not in person. On Twitter.
On Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
At Pop Storian. Or search Pop Storian on Facebook. Shoot us an email, popstorian@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll give you a shout out on the show. And recommend this show to your friends if you enjoy it. Please. It only takes a second. All right. Well, I'm Ben.
I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.